Hey guys, how you doing? I just saw The Witch, and it was a pretty well-made horror movie. I didn't really get into it as much as everyone else, calling it like the great horror movie of 2016 and all this critical rave it's getting. It's definitely deserving of some critical praise, I'm just not getting into it as much as others. But that said, let me get into it. So this Puritan family is kicked away from their plantation because of disagreements with the people there. And as they move into the cottage, or farm, or whatever the hell you'd call that place, shit starts getting real after their baby goes missing, and then things go crazy from there. I have to say, yeah, this film had great cinematography. There were some really good scenes of just like the main kid, Caleb, walking through the woods, and it looked great. Like, this was a very well shot film and very well acted too. Like, these actors really knew how to convey the right emotions and make them feel authentic. That being said, one small issue I had, and so did the lady sitting next to me, is because this film takes place during the 1600s, they speak like they would in the Crucible, and if you had trouble understanding people in the Crucible, then you're not going to enjoy this movie much, seeing as a lot of information is given to us through dialogue. I'd have to say, like, as a horror film, this had some pretty creepy scenes, especially in the beginning, which I won't spoil for you because it is pretty fucked up. That being said, while it did have a strong beginning, it did drag a little for me. That being said, that was just build up for the action. I mean, one of my favorite horror films, The Descent, did that, where it had just a moment of peace before the action started, so I can't fault the movie too much for that. But at times it felt it could drag a little. Maybe it's because I was having a tough time understanding them. It was about 80% of the time I could understand them, but it was still a prominent issue, at least for me, just on a personal level. I would actually recommend this movie to you if you want to look up a good and well-made horror movie for the season. I mean, for God's sakes, as much as I complain about it being a little dull in places, it's a hell of a lot better than shit films like Sinister 2. I'd gladly watch this over Sinister 2. I'd give it about a 3 out of 5. Not to say that this movie is bad by any means. It's a great, well-made film. It's just on a personal level, I didn't enjoy it as much as I probably could have. Again, this is a period piece for all intents and purposes. This is dealing with the kind of horror that existed back then. They spoke the way they spoke back then, and they lived the way they lived back then. So I can't fault the movie too much for not sucking me into a particular era I don't have that much interest in. That being said, it is a very well-made film. It is well acted. The characters are likable, except for the two little shit kids in the movie, but again, anytime you have little kids in the movies, they're always annoying as piss. Alright, and spoiler time. And a lot happens in this movie, actually. The main thing with the beginning that I wanted to get into was that in the beginning, I remember thinking, like, I see the baby, and I go, oh my god, I hope they don't kill off the baby. And the baby is the very first one they kill off. And pretty brutally, too. Like, you don't see what happens, but you know what happens, and the fact that, like, the crushed up baby is being smeared all over the witch, like, holy shit. And aside from that, it sort of gets into horror movie-ish. They all get picked off one by one. The little kid, Caleb, finds that the dog is killed, and he goes up to the witch, and this witch looks different from the one earlier, to where she's a young, large-breasted, relatively attractive woman, which leads me to believe that there was definitely more than one witch. In fact, the ending confirms that there's more than one witch, but more than one witch that's targeting the family. That's my point. And aside from that, he comes back, he coughs up a crab apple, it looked like, and died. People get all paranoid. The little ones say that Thomason, the main woman's name, yeah, that confused the hell out of me. Her name was Thomason, but whatever. She and the little ones get locked away because the father can't distinguish, like, is one of them a witch? Who's doing the magic here? What the hell is going on? And then the movie gets interesting. It definitely, like, as I say, it does have moments where it drags on. This is another peek for it where the woman sees Caleb and the baby alive again and breastfeeds the baby, but oh snap, it's not the baby. It's like a crow digging away at her skin, just pecking away, eating her. And, like, she goes back to sleep afterwards. The wound looked kind of deep, so I don't know how she just went back to sleep without questioning anything or bringing it up again, but oh whatever, a minor nitpick. So anyways, after she does that, that previous night, the witch is in there, kills the two kids, and then the main girl, Thomason, is to blame. So the dad kind of freaks out at her, but then gets gored by the goat, and the mother freaks out and is like, oh snap, what did you do? And tries to kill Thomason, and then Thomason stabs the shit out of her. And now we get into the last 10 minutes where her whole family is dead. I'm assuming the two little kids died because that's the last time we ever see them, is screaming as the witch lunges at them. And she decides to talk to the goat because the kids said they could speak to the goat. And the goat is not a goat, it's like, I couldn't tell. I think it was Satan. I'm pretty sure the goat was Satan because it speaks to her and, like, there's a dude behind her. So either he's a Satanist priest or whatever ranking of Satanism there is, and basically converts her into being a witch. And she levitates into the air with all the other witches laughing away in front of the fire. And something that kind of irritated me was because that was probably the most interesting point of the movie. Like, holy shit, okay, the goat is not a goat, it's possibly the Dark Lord, and now this chick is going up to these murderous sociopathic witches and deciding to become one of them, and it ends. I mean, I guess it's fair to end it on a high note. I mean, that's kind of how the last Exorcism ended, with the weird satanic stuff. But anyways, that was my take on it. Like, it had genuinely creepy moments throughout it. Like, don't make my ranking of 3 out of 5 make you think that I didn't like this movie. I did like this movie. It had great, genuine moments in it. I think the best I can compare this to is a more likable Lovely Molly. If you've ever seen Lovely Molly, then it has about that same exact tone, pacing, and payoff in the end. I mean, not exactly the same, but the same in tone. So, you know, if you liked Lovely Molly and you're interested in period pieces like this one, then this film was made for you. Like, yeah. Anyways, that's my review, 3 out of 5. I might review another movie this week. I don't know. It depends on how busy I am because, you know, being a film student, I have film projects to do. If you have any suggestions, leave them down below. And also, while you're at it, why not like and subscribe? We have some pretty good content. I may be a little biased, but I think we have plenty to offer. Anyways, catch you around.